a product of imagination and a gift of visualization. It's Fundercast 988. Hey there, Tony here, and I was just looking at a conversation on social media that I had that led me to write about that and talk about that. That's what I'm going to do right now, is talk some more about it. And it is based on what a social media friend of mine shared, which was a video of John Wayne throwing a kid into a deep creek. Actually, it was John Wayne playing the title character from the movie Hondo, and his character threw a kid into the creek. And the movie was based on the book by the same name, Hondo. It was written by Louis L'Amour, a guy famous for writing Western-style books. And I found out his books were partly the products of imagination and largely a part of Mr. L'Amour's exceptional ability to visualize terrain. Terrain, that's land, you know. So his storytelling skill wasn't just a product of imagination, but his books are fictional accounts of the Old West, mostly. In fact, if you bring up the subject of Old West fiction, anyone who's lived more than a couple or 3 decades is probably going to be able to think of Louis L'Amour. And some people might say Louis L'Amour, some people might say Louis L'Amour, some people might say Louis L'Amour, I know him. I don't know how they'll say it, but I believe it's Louis L'Amour. Now, my friend's reference nudged me to do a little bit of research on Louis' visualization skills, because I found out a little bit about that and I wanted to find out more. And I discovered that, and this is quoting, his knack for describing landscapes wasn't just a product of imagination. It was deeply rooted in his real-life experiences and meticulous research. L'Amour traveled extensively across the American West, working jobs like cowboy and miner and lumberjack, which gave him first-hand knowledge of the rugged landscapes he later depicted. And he walked the trails, climbed the mountains, and crossed the deserts that he wrote about. And he absorbed the details that brought his settings to life. Now, that's the end of the quote, and I think that's pretty interesting. And I also saw a snippet that mentioned Hondo specifically, Hondo, that book that he wrote. It said, for instance, in novels like Hondo, the terrain isn't just a backdrop. It's a character, and it helps shape the plot and the people in it as much as the character descriptions and the dialogue. And the landscape and all that in there do a lot for what's going on in the movie. I won't spoil it for you. I won't tell you more than that. It's a great John Wayne movie, so you ought to see it. If nothing else, to see John Wayne play Hondo, because he did it really, really well. Now, apparently, Louis L'Amour could paint a mental picture of a canyon's twist or a river's flow so clearly that readers felt they could navigate it themselves. And that was a result of his habit of studying maps, hanging out in locations, talking to old-timers, and even sketching landscapes to lock them into his memory. L'Amour said he could actually see, and I put air quotes around the word see, he could see a place in his mind before writing about it. He said he'd mentally walk through it, and that's how he could visualize the sun's angle and the scrub brush's texture, or how a horse's hooves would kick up dust on a dry ridge. He could see all that. But there's nothing mystical about his talent. Let's clear that up right away. He honed his skills by actually living in those kinds of places. And he had a genuine, lifelong curiosity about the land's history and the geology. Plus, he photographed locations and studied the pictures to double-check his mental images of them. And he researched historical records to be sure his stories were accurate and authentic. So he did the work. He didn't just see things and write it down. He did the work. But I guess his imagination and his ability to visualize stories was pretty good, because he wrote over 120 books. Not to mention, but I will, all his short stories and his other writings, and plenty of those were turned into big screen and even made-for-TV movies. Sure, that's all impressive, but I always see something else at work when I read or hear about so-called special skills. And I know they're not just a product of imagination or, somebody's special ability to visualize. Those talents are actual gifts from God. And no matter how amazing they might seem, They're just a shadow of what God wants for us. The Apostle Paul, you've heard of him from the Bible, he put it this way: "For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know just as I also am known." And when he's saying now and then, he's talking about now your life here on earth, and then when you see the Lord face to face, you face God. You're only a part of what you will be, and in heaven you will be complete, so things will be much, much better. I wrote a song called Perfect Point of View, and I visualized it this way.
If you see a fiery flame against the midnight sky, just a tiny sparkle in the corner of your eye, it might be me because I'm sailing through the stars. I'll turn and wave when I pass Mars. I fly till tangled thoughts untie, up where my dreams are all true blue. So high, ideas electrified, in charge of perfect point of view. If you hear an echo from the highest mountain peaks, or just a quiet whisper when nobody even speaks, it might be me because I'm soaring through the air, in sonic circles everywhere. I fly till tangled thoughts untie, up where my dreams are all true blue. So high, ideas electrified, in charge of perfect point of view. Tangled thoughts untied, up where my dreams are all true blue. So high, ideas electrified, in charge of perfect point of view.
So it's important to know that one day, and sooner than you might imagine, the Lord of creation is going to give everyone who loves him that perfect point of view. And to that, I say, hi-yo, hondo, let's go. Who's with me? Well, if you are with me, why don't you subscribe to my Funder Flash journal over there at tonyfunderburk.com, because then these flashes of light that I share with you on the website and in this Fundercast will come right to your inbox. You won't have to go looking for them. You won't have to try to find them. It'll all come right to you, and it'll make it so much easier. Then you can spend your valuable time reading and listening instead of searching. And to show my sincere appreciation for your time and attention, I'm going to send you download links to books and music right away. And this is stuff that kids from 3 to 103 can enjoy. It's fun stuff. And that's it for this episode of the Fundercast, where it's always my mission to share the power of God's love and encourage you to do the same.